Sue?
Mike!
Sue?
Mike, where are you?
Ah! The horror! Hey, everybody.
Hello there.
I'm Michael O'Rourke.
I'm Sue Slachter.
And welcome to The Horror!
The horror of
Crawl. From Alexandre, known for directing The Hills Have Eyes and Piranha 3D, comes Crawl. Haley, played by Kaya Scodelario, gets a call from her sister warning her to get out of Florida before a major hurricane hits the state. Haley tries to make sure her father Dave, played by Barry Pepper, is safe, but she cannot get a hold of him. Haley decides to go to her father's house to make sure he's okay, but she discovers he's trapped in the basement with ferocious alligators. Will Haley and Dave make it out safely, or will alligators chomp them up? Sue, what did you think about this movie?
I really enjoyed this film. I thought that it was really well shot. It looked super crisp, had a lot of great imagery and colors in the film. I really appreciated the fact that the horror of this film comes from natural disasters and wild animals. These are things that are genuinely scary, and as human beings, we really have no control over.
For a movie about alligators attacking people, for the most part, mostly, it's pretty realistic. It's a hurricane coming in. The effects for the storm, I thought, were done really well.
So well, yeah.
There's a lot of shots where they show the storm, like where they show full wide-angle shots of the storm and the ground and the water everywhere, the submerged cars.
Yeah.
And especially for a lower-budget horror movie, like, that's surprising that they went all out with showing all that. And in a way, they kind of made the storm its own character.
Totally.
Its own, like, threat to our main characters as this foreboding, ever-present, like, noise in the background, this threat, especially when they're in the basement and the water just keeps rising slowly.
Yeah.
And it introduces a ticking time bomb element to the movie where they're going to have to get out of there eventually. They can't just stay down there forever and wait for help.
I like that you see the storm clouds starting to get thicker and darker. And again, with the water rising, at one point you see a car actually start to float away because it's become so intense. Again, there's nothing that you can do about this in a real life situation. And seeing how well it was executed in the film was actually chilling.
This movie had really good sound design, especially like the storm effects. Just the way it sounded, you always heard it in the background.
Kaboom!
The alligators themselves also sounded really good to me, with their low growls and threatening noises. And a lot of times they would have a jump scare with an alligator, and there was no music sting to it. It was just the noise of the alligator itself, which is so rare for horror movies. Like, not to have that sting, that loud noise, random clank noise or whatever that they use.
I really appreciate that too, because it lended more of an air of realism to it.
Yeah.
If you're in one of those types of situations, the animal coming at you or the storm breaking a window, those are the real sounds. It doesn't really need a greater da-da-da-da, soundtrack to illustrate that. It's freaky already. It's already scary.
Yeah, I appreciated that they kept it minimalist and didn't go overboard with it.
The whole film has a really minimalistic feel to it. A lot of it is just one character by herself, either speaking with her sister on her phone or speaking to a dog, who obviously is not responding. It's not that kind of film. In most of the movie, you're pretty much just seeing two characters interacting together.
And they really kept the focus tight, story-wise, on just the two characters and their relationship with each other, how they've become estranged from each other. All the events that happen in the movie kind of really bring them closer together. It's a lot more depth than you would expect for an alligator movie.
There's family drama, and it feels real.
It's not cardboard cutout over-the-top characters where it's just campy and you're like, oh, God. Like,
why won't you love me?
Yeah. It's like, it's an actual realistic, like, family problem. But it's not an over-the-top family problem where they're just shouting at each other or something because they hate each other. Like, they don't hate each other. They're both just really stubborn people who have to have their own way. And they even say that in the movie. Like when the dad says, "You got your stubbornness for me."
The only reason they're shouting is so that they can be heard above the rushing water and the sound of their impending doom.
Yeah. And alligators.
Yeah. I thought that the CG in this movie was really well done. Again, it was not over the top. The alligators move in this way that I feel like is really realistic. They've got this smooth side-to-side action that's very evil and almost seductive in this creepy kind of way.
Mm-hmm. Well, and you look at alligators in real life, like they really do have those movements. They did a really good job like capturing that realism and not going too over the top with the alligators and making them unbelievable and flying through the air. And
yeah,
there's no alligator sharknado kind of situation going on here.
They're cutting through the water in this way that strikes me as very primal and very real. And again, I would not want to be caught in those waters with those lizards, CG or no.
Mm-hmm. There's one scene I really liked where the alligator turns around and its tail hits a pipe and you just hear that noise. Kind of gets under your skin a little bit. Like, it's just creepy.
Yeah, absolutely. I like that a lot of the film does take place in this crawl space. Huh? Get it? Crawl? Huh? Because I am shamed by my pun. I like that you have the threat of the storm. You have the tension of the family drama. You have the alligators coming to bite your ass. And you're in this tiny crawl space that is getting smaller by the minute with the water. All of these are definitely scenarios that I really don't want to experience.
I really enjoyed, too, how they didn't have too many extraneous characters. Like, they really do focus on the father and the daughter. And every time a new character shows up who might be able to save them, there's not a whole lot of setup for them, and they don't last very long.
Yeah.
And I actually appreciated that because there's not a whole lot of extraneous plots that are cluttering up the movie. Like, it's really just focused on these two people's survival. And there's always these rays of hope, like, oh, maybe they'll get saved by this person, but it gets dashed right away. And they take care of it quickly and efficiently.
Yeah.
Get that out of the way for the next scene. And I really enjoyed that.
Totally. I feel like this is a different sort of horror movie in the sense that it is not about slashers, it's not about teenagers doing things they shouldn't be doing, but there are still certain kind of nods to those little tropes. You see some characters at one point who are maybe doing a little bit of looting while this natural disaster is, wiping everything out, and they get their comeuppance like they would in any other horror movie. So that was a very satisfying thing that we're just going to have this little nod to a trope without beating us over the head with it throughout the whole film.
They didn't introduce an element and then have it drag on too long.
Yeah.
Like, they were really good about, like, here's these thieves across the street trying to steal from the store, and alligators are going to get them. They don't waste any time getting to that. It's just like, oh, all right, here they are. Here's the alligators. They're eating people. Give me what I want.
Yeah, there is no shortage of blood spurting in this movie. You see plenty of, body parts flying around. It was very satisfying. Although I will say that there are plenty of chomps that the alligators do in this movie where people end up swimming away with their limbs. I was kind of impressed by that. That lasted for a pretty long time.
I really appreciated how the main characters did not escape injuries. That the alligators did nip at them a few times and cause them problems and get around the fact that they were also injured themselves and try to survive the situation as well.
I want to take a moment to express my love for the dog Sugar. I just really appreciated having this canine element in the film because the dog really wants to help the main characters too, but there isn't anything they can do. Sugar, though, what a sweet dog.
The dog really wanted to help when she was trying to lift up the passageway and the piece of furniture was on top of it.
In the way.
And the dog is right there. It is barking at her.
Help me. I'll
help
help you.
Come on. I want to help you.
Yeah.
But I can't because I'm a dog and I don't have hands.
I don't have thumbs.
Yeah.
I can't move the furniture for you. This film made me really happy because I felt like it was like Jaws for the 2000s. In the same way that film made people afraid of the beach, I feel that this film could make people kind of realize how frightening natural disasters are, how much you don't want to mess around with animals that can rip you into shreds. It was something that reminded me of films from the early 2000s like Lake Placid or Deep Blue Sea, but way, way, way better. I like those films in their own right because they're fun and they're funny, maybe in ways that are purposeful, maybe in ways that aren't.
You ate my bird.
This film, though, actually brought some real thrills to it and was very exciting and frightening.
This really felt like one of those movies, like Lake Placid, but taking the concept and just taking out all the cheesiness
Yeah.
and making it into a story that's a little bit more grounded and with more grounded characters instead of cartoony, over-the-top characters, and making it feel more real, more intense as a result.
Definitely. And the fact that one of the main characters, Haley, is a competitive swimmer is obviously something that's used heavily throughout the film because, you know, we've got water and alligators and needing to swim through it. But they use it in this really great way where not only does it make sense to the plot line, but you're also really rooting for her to get past some of her own personal demons that she has associated with swimming. And again, that relates back to the issues that she has with her father.
So one maybe issue I had with this movie was the dialogue. I thought most of it wasn't very memorable, unfortunately. It was very kind of basic, to the point. This is how I'm feeling. This is how you're feeling. We need to escape from here.
Dad! There's two of them!
Are you hurt?
I'm fine.
You don't sound like you're fine.
I'm safe.
I felt like the writers could have embellished a little bit with the dialogue, like have some clever lines in there.
It is a slippery slope from realistic dialogue to having witty one-liners. And I mean, I love me some witty one-liners. It's true.
And I don't even need witty one-liners exactly.
I can't say I can think of any specific dialogue from the film. I can think of general ideas. Oh, no, wait. Apex Predator.
Yes.
Apex Predator. That's the only thing I can think of.
Apex Predator all day!
That was the one line that I enjoyed quite a bit.
All day.
All day!
I appreciate the length of this movie. It's less than 90 minutes. I feel like that's a perfect time for this movie to tell its story. It doesn't need to be any longer. They don't need to introduce any random things into the plot.
Overall, I really enjoyed this movie. I did wrestle with myself a little bit about if I thought it was a true horror movie for a while, but you start seeing those jaws snap and the blood splurt, and it's a horror movie. Yeah, just has a lot of thrill in it.
I would say this movie made me feel more uncomfortable than a lot of so-called horror movies.
Yeah.
Because there were times where I legitimately jumped a little bit when an alligator came from nowhere.
Yeah.
And I'm like, ah. Just snaps at our main character, and I don't know. I found that a little bit more scary than maybe some other things we've reviewed about killer dolls and everything, where I can't take that as seriously. I know that's not real, so it really doesn't scare me. This is a situation where I could actually see this happening.
Yes.
The thought of that, I think, scares me more than many other horror movies that are more over the top or more fantastical.
Mm-hmm. So, you know, if there's a storm coming, go ahead and do what the authorities say. Evacuate. Don't think you can ride it out because, as this movie shows, you might not get out in one piece.
There is one main theme to this movie. Don't live in Florida.
Yeah, don't live in Florida.
Don't live in Florida. Just don't do it. Overall, I enjoy this movie quite a bit. And it's not a very deep movie. It's not a psychological drama or anything like that. But it's a fun movie about alligators and trying to survive a hurricane.
Yeah.
And I had a fun time watching it. Thank you for joining us. See you later, alligator.
After a while, crocodile. Bye.
Bye.